Hi, hi, hi. Hi, everyone. How we doing? Thank you for coming. Nice to see you. Hello, MI. How are you? Hello, Nicole. Hi, Chris. Hey, Steve. Steven, how have you been? Nice to see you. It's great seeing you. Hi, Ramblin'. You love it? Thank you. Aw, thank you. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you. Steven, I hope you've been doing well. Keeping busy over there? So, what we have for today? We have actually probably two streams coming. But what we have is right now, we're going to be talking about two different sets of locations, both having issues with missing, right? The missing. And you've got many missing in San Antonio, right? Numerous that are missing in San Antonio. And talking about the issues that go on there with all of that, as well as Bighorn County that's in Montana. And that one that affects that one that's affecting the indigenous people. And so sorry, I just got distracted looking at something. I'm trying to get my YouTube open over on my cell phone for you guys so I can actually see what you guys are saying. It's being funny to me. Don't worry, we're there. Actually, no, we're not. I gotta get my volume down. We don't want to hear me double talk, do we? No. One is plenty enough. All right, we're good. Okay, I'm good. Been doing a lot on my channel, busy working. Oh, good. That's good. I'm glad that you're keeping busy. That's good. That's really good. Same here. Also the same. Also the same. People don't realize just how much it actually takes up of your time running channels. The intro is really great. Oh, no, thank you, MI. Thanks. Oh, I'm glad that you like it. And you're going to check it out? Cool. You'll check out Steven? Yeah. He does a lot of cool stuff over there. Puts a lot of work into it, too. So let me play a video for you guys. This is a shorter video, and then the other ones are longer, and we'll go through them as we go. So let me show you this. We kind of talked about this the past, two streams we've discussed this, and we've questioned, is the number of people that are going missing, is it actually more, or are we just noticing it more, right? Are there actually more going missing, or are we just more aware of it, right? So it's something that we've actually recently been discussing.
Take a look at these faces. Each person reported missing in our area this month. Tonight, one is home safe, one is dead, and one has not been found. Just in the last 72 hours, KENS 5 has reported major developments in each of these cases. You've likely seen their pictures on social media too, along with dozens of other missing San Antonio men and women. Many of you are wondering whether this is a worsening problem. Tonight, KENS 5 reporter Matt Houston takes that question to the experts.
In San Antonio, too many loved ones are searching for friends or family members. But it's hard to say whether an unusual number of people are missing.
Well, I think the numbers unfortunately continue to rise.
Mark Gillespie is a former Air Force special agent, now trying to find the missing as a private eye. He says it seems people are disappearing more often these days, noting that social media and dating apps offer new platforms for predators.
The threat is there. It does not discriminate by our age.
But data that confirms whether there's been an uptick in reports of missing people isn't yet available. It's possible you're noticing the problem more, Denise O'Leary says, by design.
We're utilizing digital media a lot more to get this information out there to try and make people aware that this is a problem.
O'Leary contends social media regularly helps investigators gather leads, opening a community's eyes to an old issue. San Antonio is also emerging from the pandemic's height, a 2-year period when local missing person reports dropped substantially. Evidence for a rebound isn't yet obvious, but it's possible, given other metrics like crime and employment have returned to their pre-COVID levels. O'Leary, based in Houston, says she has noticed one trend in her area: more silver alerts as opposed to amber alerts. She says that may be a sign baby boomers are becoming elderly, all at a time when Alzheimer's and dementia diagnoses are becoming more common. Isis.
So as you notice, they didn't really have an answer there. They didn't exactly have an answer on that. They said it's by design that we're noticing that people are going missing more because they're putting it out there that we're noticing it, right? By using the actual technology of computers and getting it out to people. And we are using the platforms to spread the word, right? That's great. But these platforms are also the danger. You've got the little ones that are using it and have no idea who they're communicating with, right? And then you've also got dating apps. So you have people of all dating ages, grown adults that are meeting up with people and they're going missing and they're losing their lives, right? Hey, how are you? Hi, everyone. Hi, everybody that's walking in. Hey, how are you? Hope you're having a good day. And so you've got a lot of people that go missing more than they used to because of the technology and the dating apps and the social media apps. But we're also seeing it more because of the technology. And so basically I got from that the answer is yes, there are more going missing. That's the answer that I heard with both of what they said. One was that you have more going missing because of technology. One was that you're seeing more because of design. I don't know, right? And then I want to show you this. So, okay, we have 27 children and adults missing in San Antonio area right now as we speak. And Lena is one of them that is of the missing. And she was originally, we've all gone back and forth of is she considered abducted, and they haven't actually ruled an abduction. And so she's still considered missing. So she's one of the children out of the 27 children and adults that are missing in San Antonio as we speak. And then you also have the crazy numbers that are going on in Montana, just in one county and just in the indigenous people. And so I want us to take a look at those. So let me put you over here. Hi, B. Tim. How are you? All right. So let's take a look.
Every time you count to 40, a child goes missing or gets abducted. Many of those kids never come back home. 600,000 adults go missing each year. That according to the National Missing and Unidentified Persons Database. Texas is second, only to California, for having the most missing persons in the nation. Welcome to Unsolved San Antonio. This series will examine the missing, their families, talk to advocates, and ask law enforcement about bringing your loved ones home. Let's start with the last executive director of the now defunct Heidi Search Center. It closed for financial reasons, but its impact on the missing may be lasting.
The walls don't exist.
There's no boundary when someone goes missing. That's why it's so difficult.
When it comes to the missing,
We had cases that took us all over the U.S., cases that stayed here local.
the road to getting found can be endless, with few signs revealing one way towards closure.
I treated it as if it were my child missing.
Dottie Laster was the last executive director of the Heidi Search Center in San Antonio. It was a nonprofit at the nucleus of trying to bring the missing home.
Every phone call was an urgent matter. Every phone call was some parent begging for help for their child.
Lack of funding closed the center down in 2018, but Laster's passion for the search remains alive.
Our children aren't safe, and we need organizations like this. It's something that you don't know you need until you don't have it.
She recalls loved ones desperate to get the faces of the missing up in effective locations. The center would provide hundreds of flyers at no cost, trying to make the unseen visible.
I think people don't often understand that when your child is missing, that's not, oh, well, at least they're not dead. Some people will actually say that. It's actually worse because there is no peace.
No child is immune.
It doesn't just apply to low-income people or high-income people or educated or uneducated, west side, north side. Our cases came from everywhere.
On playgrounds, skate parks, and especially on cell phones and the internet.
I still spend a lot of time rescuing teens and young adults who had started with someone that said hi online, and now they're gone.
Laster says parents have to be intrusive.
You cannot parent with privacy. You cannot say, my kid will tell me about this. You cannot trust your parenting to save them.
She says you fence yourself in by not knowing.
If you don't see who they're talking to, if you don't have at least their usernames and where they're exploring, what games they're playing, anything that's interactive, you need to know, because that interaction connects them visually, audibly, and through any type of communication to every bad guy in the world.
Sadly,
Every bad guy in the world. Every bad guy in the world. It connects you to every bad guy in the world. Yes, and that's what these children are up against, and they have no idea. No idea. And so it is absolutely up to the parents to be sure that they know the information that of the logins for their children, right? They have to know their login and their passwords. I know it may not be comfortable. The child's not going to like it. It seems like it may be intrusive. Well, don't be intrusive then. Don't go into their information. Don't be constantly digging in and constantly reading everything that they're doing. There's a way that you can monitor without being a full-on stalking and reading it like it's the morning newspaper, right? And you're getting your day, or even like it's a Facebook post. You don't gotta act like it's your new Facebook addiction where you're constantly reading what your child is doing and that's all you do all day long. Just have that on hand, and always be able to have that too, which you'll hear later, to be able to get in to their information if they go missing, so that you have access to it. Flyers at no cost, that would be expensive. If I win the lotto, I'm going to send them a check. Why can't rich people fund people like this? Exactly, right? It's like rich people are too, they got their head in the clouds. They got their head in the clouds and they're too busy worried about anything and everything other than they think that this can't affect them. And it's like, no, it absolutely can affect you. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You could still go missing. You could still be abducted. Even being of higher class, having more money, it doesn't discriminate. Hi Sherry, how are you? It doesn't discriminate. And hi HRC, how are you? And it is scary, Ramblin'. It is so scary. Absolutely. So monitor, be in their business and make sure that you get their information, because it connects them to every single bad guy in the world. It's true, and it's scary. It's very, very scary.
Your child could become one of the many cases in her file, or like the Golden Girl, who became symbolic of missing kids.
It's the hardest work I've ever done.
So she is offering these tips if someone goes missing. Don't wait 24 hours to report that person has disappeared to the authorities. And we confirmed that with police, that it's a complete myth, something that came along in the television age. Laster says to be sure to get a case number from police. You are going to need it. She says rally those around you to help you search, and make sure you have a current picture of the person who is missing. We have other tips in her story on kids5.com, including how to get a free digital DNA kit. And one more thing, we're going to show you these phone numbers throughout the show. If you know anything about any of the faces that we're showing you at the bottom of your screen, you can call the San Antonio Police Department's Missing Person Unit at 210-207-7660, or call the Bexar County Sheriff's Criminal Investigations Division at 210-335-6070. Speaking of the San Antonio Police, they have more than 20 people who make up their missing person unit, while Bexar County has one deputy working their cases. So we asked the sheriff to explain the power of one.
The fact is, any one of our children could fall victim to something like this at any given time.
Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar believes his missing person unit is effective enough to make the case.
How do you all tackle these cases to try to solve them in your department?
Well, the minute you start assuming, oh, he's with his biological mom, it's a parental kidnapping. Oh, he's with relatives. Oh, he ran away with a girlfriend. The minute you start assuming too much, that may not be the case. And it could be a true stranger abduction case.
Deputy Raul Arevalo is the missing person unit. He's the only deputy assigned to the cases in the county.
At any given time, I can go up there and ask him what's going on with this case right here. And he can tell me up to the minute, literally, what we're doing with each particular case.
Salazar says Arevalo is housed in criminal investigations because a missing person case sometimes evolves into other crimes, like in the murder of Andreen McDonald.
He'll grab a hold of people from street crimes or from the gang unit or from homicide or from the SCORE unit, and then we'll task them with helping him out with whatever he may need on any particular case.
Even with a support staff in place, these missing person cases can become complicated. Let's just say they find the kids in another country or out of state. The Bexar County Sheriff's Office has leads on missing kids in Colorado, Mexico, Nicaragua, Honduras, and because of the limited staff and sometimes because of international laws, they can't go after them.
San Antonio police have 3 shifts of 20 civilians who work their cases around the clock under supervisors.
You don't think you need any more?
I mean, it'd be great if we had 10 people to assign to this issue. But at this point, that's just not a luxury that we have with an agency with finite resources. We make do with what we've got.
Salazar hopes to expand whenever he gets the money. He just asked Bexar County commissioners to fund more deputies to focus on violent crimes. Some of those positions, he says, would end up in the group of investigators that support the single deputy assigned to find the missing.
I've had our investigator that's assigned to missing persons cases physically looking through barns, physically looking through closets, and he's found some of these kiddos.
To ensure the missing are found and not forgotten.
Before we move on, here are some missing person facts from the San Antonio Police Department. Officers say they want to emphasize, you do not have to wait 24 hours before reporting someone missing. They say report that victim as soon as you have confirmed that they cannot be found. Police say that they investigate more missing person cases on the city's south side than anywhere else in San Antonio, and underage girls are more likely to disappear than anyone else. So far this year, police have received 1,861 missing cases and 16 remain unsolved. That number, though, changes daily. Their oldest unsolved case on the books dates back to 1973. By the way, we have information.
So it comes to a staffing issue on that. You know, they're so understaffed, but it all comes down to money. They don't have the money. How terrible. Like, if they had the money, then they could staff up and put that staff into being on the missing person case. So instead, once they do get money, if they get money, they'll put it on the crimes unit. And from there, the crimes unit would work with these missing cases, ultimately assisting. It would kind of be the same type of dynamic that they already kind of have, really. It would be more of the ones that are helping the one single guy, and he would then continue to dish it out as he has, you know, he'll turn to the homicide unit or to this unit or to that unit, is what it sounds like. But that's we wonder why it's so difficult for them. Like, golly, it's terrible. It's such a problem in so many ways, you guys. It's so bad. It's so bad. I just can't. We're talking about lives here. I mean, what's more important than a life? I don't know, but I can't think of anything. I just can't. It's incredibly shameful. Yeah, it is. It really is. It's heartbreaking, really.
On all of these missing people on our website, and it's all in one place. Just visit kens5.com/unsolvedessay. Now, two cold cases, two families suffering the same pain.
David Hopper says his daughter, Ava Grace Baldwin, was a dream come true. But his relationship with her mother, Catherine,
Katie and I were only married for 34 days.
Was a nightmare. She left him and reconnected after Ava was born.
4 or 5 months later, she calls me and says, you know, I have a little girl and can I help her out financially?
So began the custodial and relationship chase until he gained partial custody. Even though he lived in Oklahoma, Hopper would come to San Antonio to make fatherhood work. On this visit, he took his daughter swimming.
Mr. Hopper, I don't want to tell you this, but your daughter's been missing for 21 days.
That's the message he got from Ava's former principal. Life went from pictures of baking with his baby girl to seeing her face on a missing person flyer in September 2015. She was 6.
What have the past 7 years been like?
Hell, I have one daughter, and as fate would have it, she's been robbed from me, taken from me, however you want to put it.
She remains missing, her mother a fugitive.
Imagine somebody stealing that child from me. It's hell. It's a living hell.
Nearly 200 miles away in Fort Worth.
And he was my Mother's Day gift. He was born the day before Mother's Day.
Jennifer Green grapples with the same pain. Her firstborn, Jordan, came to San Antonio to work and live with relatives. Jordan Green was 23.
He went down there the weekend of July 4th and November 7th. He went missing.
She got to see him on her birthday with no idea.
That's the last hug I got from him. the last kiss I got from him, the last time I physically saw and held my baby, because in a few weeks later, he was gone.
Her hugs would disappear. She believes he's alive, possibly being held, someone not telling the story.
For me and the thousands of people that have missing individuals in their life, we're on a constant Ferris wheel, and every day brings something different, but yet the door doesn't unlatch for us to get on.
Two families searching and aching at the same time. 7 years later.
I lose my tooth.
You wake up every day and you don't know if she's alive. You don't know if she's safe.
A little girl, a loving son, vanished within months of each other in the same city.
If I could just say one thing to him.
Yes, ma'am.
Leaving a connection to pain and unconditional faith.
Jordan, happy birthday. We've never given up the hope that you will come home, and we will never give up the fight and the search for you. So don't you give up.
The disappearance of Lena Sadar-Hill has baffled investigators and shocked this community. San Antonio police agreed to answer some questions about where this investigation stands. The supervisor of SAPD Special Victims Unit says the 4-year-old's case is still a missing persons case. Lieutenant Bill Grayson says that's all investigators can prove right now, even though the initial fear was stranger abduction. He says that drove SAPD and the FBI to expand the scope of their search, where they collected large amounts of data through interviews and security footage. Grayson says that SAPD has 2 dedicated detectives, in addition to the FBI and support staff, still working on Lena's case. He says they won't suspend this investigation until all workable leads get exhausted.
So Lena has 2 dedicated detectives. So now I don't know if we've ever heard that she has 2 that are dedicated only to her case. Well, I don't know if they're only dedicated to her case, but we know 2 that are dedicated to her case in specific, for sure, as well as FBI. Yet still, we don't know where she is. That's so frustrating. Ugh.
For 21 years, the disappearance of Nicholas Plaza has come with more probability than conclusion. Investigators have long believed the 5-year-old is dead. His family and others still hold out hope that he is a 26-year-old man alive and well. For the first time, the investigator who helped send Plaza's mother and her boyfriend to prison is granting us an interview. He takes us behind the missing person flyer to the facts about the boy they call Nicky.
There is no way Nicholas Plaza vanished into thin air on October 23, 2001, but it sure felt like it. His case got reported to San Antonio police nearly a month later. A frenzy to find the 5-year-old with the innocent eyes whose ears framed his face had fuel, but was fruitless.
I had a hard time understanding why we couldn't get this before a jury. There was so much there already.
Retired San Antonio Police Detective George Saylor got the case a year after Plaza went missing. He's interviewing about the case for the first time.
What stood out to you about this case?
There was no doubt in my mind that this young child was dead. And people knew about it. People saw just the atrocity of injuries that happened to him.
Plaza's mother, Priscilla, got romantically involved with high school acquaintance Ruben Zavala Jr. in March 2001. 5 months later, she was living with Zavala and his parents.
It was not like she was an innocent bystander in all this. She certainly had plenty of time to do something about it.
Investigators say Nicholas would go from a vibrant, healthy child to torture and sexual abuse.
They talked about he couldn't walk. There was blood in the urine. There was blood in his stools. He was losing his hair.
Ultimately disappearing. Saylor says he couldn't understand Zavala's spell over the people around him. As he made his case on Zavala, the suspect had already been convicted for kidnapping a woman's 18-month-old son.
Before I got an arrest warrant for him, he was already writing other females who had young children. So that was one of the things that scared me the most. If I couldn't get this man off the streets, that we were going to have another victim.
He said on that list, mothers with boys like Nicholas. Saylor worked on the case for 3 years, knowing there were no medical records, no body, and only word of mouth from suspicious people, one of whom was the boy's mother, under Zavala's power.
I think he was using the children to control the women.
In partnership with then Medical Director of Child Safe, Dr. Nancy Kellogg, the two got Priscilla and Zavala's mother to verify injuries about Nicholas.
5 times a day.
That should have been reported to a doctor, but were not. That led to Priscilla's plea deal for omission to serious bodily child injury charges. Zavala faced the same child injury charge and murder.
He told us where he had buried the clothes, and we went out and dug it up.
Zavala claimed the boy died with his mother.
I never said I killed anybody.
It's almost like he kept sending us on a wild goose chase.
Even though he made a different statement to police in writing.
And in 2 of his letters that he sent to us, he called himself the murder of Nicholas Plaza.
Prosecutors took the child injury charges to court, something they could prove with a prison penalty similar to murder.
It's the order of this court.
In 2007, Zavala got 67 years. Priscilla got 18.
Did you serve 18 years confinement?
How do you all think he died?
There's no way of knowing.
And then there's Nicholas. He will remain in a database until his body gets found. Some believe he still may be alive. Saylor says a cadaver dog got a light hit on garbage bags in Zavala's garage. Zavala told investigators he put the boy's body in a South Side dumpster.
It would take a miracle to find anybody that's been buried out there.
When the dumpster went to the landfill, Saylor believed Nicholas vanished among the garbage.
Well, I want to be honest with you. Authorities do have some success in missing person cases. Missing people are found. But in many cases, they are not, unless people like you say something. We want to leave you with the phone numbers that could change everything, turning the unsolved into closure for those waiting on their loved ones to come home.
Yeah, so pretty wow. And likely he did get put into a dumpster. And yeah, when they took him to the landfill, he's so deep in that landfill, you never find him. He waited long enough that there was so much trash on him that there was no opportunity for them to go get him, to see what they had done to him. That's why he sent him on a goose chase. Yep. Terrible. It's awful. It's awful. Makes you so angry hearing these things that they did. Like, I don't get people. I don't understand. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is this really hurts my heart a lot. This is really sad. You want to talk about numbers that don't add up? Here are some numbers. Listen really good to these numbers that get spoken, and just how much it doesn't make any sense, and just how big of a problem we have here that is being completely and totally ignored.
In the late 1960s and early 1970s, the national media in the U.S. was engrossed by a series of murders in Northern California, with San Francisco central to the killing spree. Dubbed the Zodiac Killer, law enforcement confirmed that the serial killer murdered 5 victims. though the killer claimed it was more in letters to the press. At the time, San Francisco alone had a population of approximately 716,000. I'm here in Hardin, Montana, the county seat of Bighorn County. Hardin has a population of approximately 3,500. Bighorn County has some 27 documented missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls cases, and approximately 20 missing and murdered Indigenous men and boys cases. Like the Zodiac Killer, most of the perpetrators of these crimes are yet to be apprehended and brought to justice. In Hardin, at least half of the MMIWG cases are unsolved. 86% of missing and murdered Indigenous people cases in Montana remain unsolved. But unlike the Zodiac Killer, the nation's media isn't focused here, though there are 240 plus more victims and likely many more due to underreporting. Bighorn County has the highest per capita rates of MMIWG cases in the U.S. I'm here to find out why this county, with fewer than 14,000 residents, and this small reservation border town Hardin, has been called the epicenter of the MMIWG tragedy.
How about those numbers? If that doesn't give you goosebumps of just how horrific. It's awful. Why have kids if you're going to hurt them? Exactly. 100%. Why? What's the point? What are you even doing? What are you doing? What's the point? Why bother? Give them to somebody. Give them to somebody that can't have children. Somebody that wants them. Somebody that will take care of them and love them, nurture them. I don't understand it. I'll never get it. I never will. But these numbers are insane. The missing and murdered Indigenous women and missing and murdered Indigenous people as a whole, their numbers are insane. And it gets ignored and it doesn't get discussed. And they don't get the help and assistance that they need. And it's absolutely devastating.
Selena wasn't there. We're getting stonewalled every which way we turn. That's where they had found her body.
The racism in the Montana legislature is blatant and it can get ugly.
Something could have happened on reservation and then they're transported off. The jurisdiction question remains confusing even in those kinds of situations.
It's like they didn't even want to help me.
They don't do anything because we're Native American.
They couldn't give us an answer for anything. They knew right away it was her and they would tell us.
Case closed, natural causes.
I know she was placed here and there's foul play.
Sarah Stopp's Pretty Places was a young Northern Cheyenne and Crow woman who was intimately familiar with both reservations and Bighorn County. In the summer of 2019, Sarah's family expected her to return home from Missoula, Montana, to attend the Northern Cheyenne 4th of July powwow.
She loved Missoula, Montana, and she loved the Hellgate High School there, so she had hoped to go back and then go on to media arts, which the theater there at the University of Montana is what we had discussed, and I was hoping that she could get her legs there in university before she headed to maybe New York or California. She was just like an excellent athlete, and that kind of runs in her family from her grandpa Joseph Bulltail to her mom, and she just really excelled in that. A lot of coaches were watching her.
Sarah never got on the bus in Missoula. Instead, she was transported by a parolee to an isolated location in Pryor on the Crow Reservation. There, Sarah found herself at the nexus of methamphetamine distribution and human trafficking that is central to the MMIWG crisis. Sarah was held against her will, but unlike many young women in that situation, she managed to escape. During that time, it is said that Sarah learned information about another Bighorn County murdered and missing Indigenous victim. 2 weeks after her 18th birthday, Sarah's body lay exposed to the August heat in a yard adjacent to one of the busiest roads in Hardin. Is the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office and county attorney still claiming that her body had been in that yard for multiple days before it was found?
They still claim that her body laid in the spot that it was found, and that it was there for several days, at least 5 days. But the spot that she was found is a very high traffic area, very visual area. Okay, so this is the yard where they found Kaysara's body here. And her body was right here with her head facing, this would be east, and her legs facing west. And she was laying prone on her belly with her arms under her. I know she was placed here, and there's foul play because she didn't just die from a drug overdose or a seizure or anything. The person that found her, he was jogging and he saw her body right away. There's absolutely no way that her body could have been laying there, such a visible place for that long, without being discovered. When we spoke with the person that found the body, they called for help. And when they came, the officer did not secure the scene. People were walking in and out of there, and he himself told them, shouldn't you secure this area? Shouldn't you secure the scene, you know? So that whole scene was compromised. Kids were tweeting that the body that was found was the body of that Stops girl, the 17-year-old. The first officer absolutely knew that that was Kaysara. He is the same officer that she spoke to, the same officer that made comments about, she's just probably out partying, you know, she'll come back.
Can you tell us why the first officer had to recuse himself?
This officer is involved in a brutality beating of Kaysara's brother just a week before.
So just the week before Kaysara's brother had been brutally beaten by this same officer. She had recorded it. She had been the one that was recording. She caught her brother being brutally beaten by this officer. And wait till you hear it's even worse. It's even worse. Listen to this. Like, you can't make up a more horrific thing than this is horrific.
So you believe that Kaysara filming this brutality from an officer beating her brother, who was in a wheelchair at Crow Fair, contributed to the lack of responsiveness to her case?
I believe that.
Kaysara's family has only
in a wheelchair. They are beating him when he is in a wheelchair, you guys. And she caught it on film. Awful. So, it's infuriating, and it makes me want to sob. It makes me want to sob. It really does. And then a week later, she ends up dead. And he ends up being the officer on the case, and he ends up being the officer that doesn't want the scene cleared and lets everybody trample all over it. And, like, get real, you guys. Get real. Like, this is horrific. Oh my gosh.
So you believe that Kaysara filming this brutality from an officer beating her brother, who was in a wheelchair at Crow Fair, contributed to the lack of responsiveness to her case?
I believe that.
Sarah's family has only been granted one meeting with each of the Bighorn County Sheriff, the Undersheriff who has her case file, and County Attorney Jay Harris. Even their requests for documentation from Harris's MMIP task force have been ignored. Harris declined an interview with me, but I thought he might at least be willing to share some of the task force's findings. Yes, ma'am. So the county attorney, Jay Harris, said that he wouldn't do an interview on camera, but that he would provide background information. So do you have any documentation or findings of the MMIW task force that he put together after Sarah's murder?
I'm sure we do, somewhere in the office.
Okay. Could I wait to get those, or?
Can I have you have a seat over there and I'll see what I can find?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
County Attorney Jay Harris, who was highly defensive. He really didn't have any answers for us. A lot of the questions that I asked the sheriff, I asked him, and he had no idea of any of it.
Despite verbal and written commitments from County Attorney Jay Harris, I'm still waiting for the documents. Is it true that County Attorney Jay Harris objected to you asserting that Sarah was the victim of murder?
Yeah, he got really upset. When I was speaking with him, I kept using the word murder, so he got upset. He was like, "Why do you keep saying murder? Why do you keep saying she was murdered?" He got really forceful with it. And it really kind of shocked me because I was thinking, why so much emotion here? Why this reaction,
Why so much emotion here? It's a good question, but like so many related to Bighorn County murdered and missing Indigenous tragedies, it remains unanswered. The family and friends of Selena Not Afraid are also among those waiting for answers. A 16-year-old Crow girl went missing at this rest stop on I-90 during the afternoon of New Year's Day 2020. Selena, a minor, was traveling with 5 adults, 2 men and 3 women, having attended a New Year's Eve party in Billings. The driver of the vehicle claimed the group pulled into this rest stop due to car trouble. During the time it took to restart it, Selena exited the vehicle with one of the women. The driver and 3 others left them. The woman with Selena was picked up 15 minutes later. She claimed Selena had wandered off alone. What we know is that 5 adults abandoned a minor in the dead of a Montana winter. On January 20th, Selena's body was found in close proximity to the rest stop. Yesterday, I was at the site where Selena Not Afraid's body was found. I thought there were some things about the case that didn't add up before I got there, and now those discrepancies are even greater. And I understand that Selena was your granddaughter's best friend. Could you speak about your impressions and concerns about the case?
Selena should be graduating this year. And my granddaughter was in touch with Selena the entire time, like New Year's Eve. She came into my room and she said, "Grandma, Selena is missing." And I said, "Oh, she'll show up." "No, Grandma, she's missing."
Which agency coordinated the search efforts?
I want to say Bighorn County did. Yeah, if I can remember right, I believe Bighorn County did. There was a lot of volunteers, and then the search and rescue, we came in. It was different for us because we were coming in as an invite. It's not our jurisdiction. So everything we did, we had to come with permission every day. Anywhere we went on the lands, we asked for permission.
What did you wish you had that you didn't, that would have aided with the search?
I'm not sure if I ever thought about wishing for anything other than to find her, to hear that she was okay, that she was with family. That's what the focus was on.
It seems impossible that searchers wouldn't have found Selena's body as soon as they began, given how close she was found near the rest stop fence line. Searchers were going shoulder to shoulder, and there's no doubt that they scoured that area. How could her body have possibly been found after the break due to weather when the search was resumed?
So many nights I came, I wonder that Selena wasn't there. Somebody brought her back there. That is the only take I have on it, that she wasn't there. Somebody took her back there. Somebody took her body back there. And that is so clear to me, because I know from standing there where we were and just looking out to where her body was found, those areas were combed for days. They were combed, but she wasn't there. I, in my heart, think that someone hurt Selena and then put her back out there.
A couple of hours after Selena's body was found, Bighorn County Sheriff Lawrence Big Hair issued a press release declaring, quote, "Foul play is not suspected." Before even a preliminary autopsy, Selena was categorized as another victim of hypothermia. County Attorney Harris, who is reportedly at odds with Big Hair, issued a statement criticizing the premature declaration. Big Hair's career has not been without controversy. Under Sheriff Eric Winburn told Montana Public Radio that there was no evidence that Selena's body had been moved, claiming that there were no tire tracks or footprints deep enough to indicate her body had been carried there. "We have no evidence that there was foul play," Winburn said, "but there is clearly evidence of criminal negligence."
When you're in a border community, particularly Bighorn County, which includes part of the Crow Reservation, includes part of the Northern Cheyenne Reservation, and then when we're talking about Hardin in particular, that creates confusion in itself. So there's this assumption in Bighorn County that if someone, particularly an individual that was missing, that they're then found and they're found off reservation in Bighorn County, that there would be this clarity that it's state jurisdiction. That's not always the case, where something could have happened on reservation and then they're transported off. And so the jurisdiction question remains confusing even in those kinds of situations. We've seen so many times that out of Bighorn County, there are decisions made about what the cause of death is, so the case is closed. And if everyone has this assumption that Bighorn County has jurisdiction, then no one else really has the ability to step in. The FBI, BIA, tribal law enforcement could be involved if the governments agree to work together, where there is some sort of common goals and communication with each other and protocols developed. But with that lack of coordination, we see cases that start to fall through the cracks, families that start to feel like they're being ignored. And ultimately, the feeling that they get is that the life of their family member didn't have value. When there is no active effort to figure out what happened, and there's just this determination, case closed, natural causes.
Case closed, natural causes describes the experience of Paula Castro and Nathan Stopps. The FBI, BIA, and the U.S. Attorney's Office concluded that their daughter, 14-year-old Henny Scott, died of hypothermia. Henny was last seen alive on December 8, 2018, at a home on Muddy Creek near Lame Deer. The official record states that 5 of her peers were with her. Her parents have reason to believe that several other people were present. Henny's body was found within 200 yards of the house. The forensic examiner didn't record any significant trauma. Photos of Henny's body suggest otherwise. Can you tell me how long Henny was missing before law enforcement decided to do any type of search?
It was like they finally got involved maybe about the second week she was missing. She was missing a total of 28 days.
So you had to reach out to them in order to try to get answers, and they never gave you answers.
I mean, everything we would ask, they couldn't answer. They couldn't give us an answer for anything. Their investigation didn't take more than 2 months. They just opened, and before we knew it, it was closed. Closed case that she passed from hypothermia, accidental. But it just seemed kind of off to me, like suspicious, like that they were trying to cover up what happened to Henny. I think that she did get beat because when we brought her home from the funeral home, it looked like she had a broken nose. It looked like she had some bruises on her knees and like a cigarette burn on her shin. And she had bruises and contusions and bumps on her head. And noticed some of her hair was missing. The person that did her autopsy couldn't tell me how all that came about.
Well, all the concerns that you raised to him, what did he tell you exactly about the only reasoning was that hypothermia caused everything?
Yeah.
Caused the bruising, and that was basically all they kept telling you.
Mm-hmm. They kept telling me that maybe she's with a friend, maybe she's got a new boyfriend. Did you try checking there? It's like they didn't even want to help me.
If this were to be a white girl, that she would be found immediately, that something would be done.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just unexcusable that they don't do anything because we're Native American, we're Indigenous women and girls. And we're not lesser than. And we're not gonna continue to be treated like we are, because we're all human beings. And that was your daughter.
I won't get to see her graduate. I won't get to see her get married. I won't get to see her have kids. They took that away from me.
Right. How sad is that? That doesn't make you want to choke up. Golly. It's true, though. The injustice. And it'd be different if it were a white girl. But because they're Native American, it's different. And it's wrong. It's so wrong. It's not right. Never has been. We got to do something about it. We got to do something about it. Things have got to change. This can't continue.
Hearing MMIWG statistics is one thing. Hearing heartbreak from family members reliving trauma is something else. We must say their names. Representative Ray Peppers carried Hannah's act through the Montana State Legislature so that those stats could become lifelines. She shared a story that there is no words for, only silence.
I had a law enforcement officer tell me this story. He had a friend in the balk, and this officer received a call regarding 3 little boys who had gone fishing down by the river. They reported that they heard crying in the bushes, went to investigate, found a huge box with a tarp over it, pulled it up. It turned out to be a cage with 5 little girls in there. 2 were Caucasian, 2 were Indigenous, 1 was Hispanic. These little boys had the foresight to say, we're not going to go all together. We are going to split up and see if we can make sure we find someone who can help. All 3 of them made it out, reported it. This particular law enforcement officer showed up and to find these girls and rescued them. But that situation is not unique to Indian country. It goes clear back to colonialism. And you can read some of Columbus's journals talking about there's a real need for 10-year-old girls.
At Standing Rock, descendants of some Lakota who fought here are today bearing the brunt of the Bakken shell boom. I cherish the land, said Crazy Horse. We are the land. The epicenter of the MMIWG tragedy, Bighorn County, is also surrounded by extractive industry. What is happening to the land is happening to us. We are being raped, killed, trafficked, strip mined. The theft of the sacred Black Hills for gold mining brought the 7th Cavalry here. Custer died on this hill as a mortar to the military-industrial complex. We are dying every day as its victims. Highway 212 parallels the route Custer took to the Little Bighorn on the trail of the Lakota and Cheyenne families. He brought an army to attack them in their homes. Crazy Horse, we hear what you say. Today, Cheyenne women and children are still being hunted on that route. Here on the Cheyenne Nation, there is an incredible amount of semi-truck traffic that goes through the heart of the reservation on Highway 212. That must create an intense amount of vulnerabilities for Cheyenne women and girls in the community. What do you want to do to reduce that threat?
I would like to educate. I think education of our daughters and our nieces, all of our girls, our sons, they are victims as well. You know, recently our casino stopped letting semis park there. Park overnight parking or anything, or even just to come into the casino. They have stopped letting them go there because there was some illegal stuff happening there. I know that those semis stop along the road. I know that anybody who's walking on those roads, as soon as they get on 212, there could either become a statistic of either death, a kidnapping, a rape, anytime any human being gets on that road on 212.
Behind me is Interstate 90. Tribal leaders in Montana have referred to Interstate 90 as the second highway of tears. I'm here at Love's Truck Stop in Hardin, Montana, the epicenter of the MMIWG tragedy, where there is not one missing persons poster to be found on the premises. From the time that I've been here, it's very clear that the families of these victims are the people who are initiating and leading these investigations. You would think that it would be law enforcement to lead these investigations, but that's not the case. It doesn't matter if it's federal, local, or state, it's always the same stories. And there's no sense of urgency. There's a lack of interest with these cases. And it's a common theme in every single case that law enforcement does not want to do their jobs, and that these families have to do their jobs for them, on top of grieving and trying to gain some closure for what has happened to their daughters. After multiple fruitless calls and emails seeking the perspective of the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office, I made one final attempt and decided to try and initiate a conversation on MMIWG at the most basic entry point by asking if they had any past or present missing persons posters. Hi, how are you? Good. So I was just wondering if anyone had a poster or a missing persons flyer for K. Sarah Stops Pretty Places or Hub Williamson.
I will look into it to see. Okay.
But you don't currently have one, correct?
I don't know.
Okay, so you don't know if you have a poster or flyer, missing persons poster or flyer.
Correct. I will look into it.
Okay. Is there someone here? I'm sorry, what is your title?
Captain.
Okay. Is there someone here that would have any information about being contacted through email to give comment about those cases specifically?
Like to you or?
Yeah, just someone reaching out, asking for comment. The sheriff's office as a whole giving a comment about those cases and other cases specifically including Indigenous women and girls that have been missing.
I get with my detective.
Okay.
And see.
And who's that?
Ty.
Okay. Last name?
Cruikshank.
Okay.
All right. See what because he's working those cases.
Okay. But he's not here?
No.
Okay.
Today he's not.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right, you bet.
Do you think the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office is involved in a cover-up?
Well, I think there's several things that point to that. They didn't report finding Kaysara's body to the media. They absolutely 100% knew that was Kaysara. The officer.
He didn't want to show any respect to her at all. No respect. What are you doing at work? You still got 30, 40, 20 minutes. You still got 20 minutes left. Darn. Annabelle, you're going to want to watch this one over again. This is the video that you wanted to see. Yeah, you can clearly see that he has no respect for her, whether it's because she isn't, whether it's because she's simply just a civilian, whether it's because she's a woman, or whether it's because she's indigenous. I don't know which one of the three is the reason, but he's clearly looking down upon her and has no desire to speak to her, show her any kind of respect at all. He's just like, when she said, do you have any to speak to, anyone that can be, I can talk to, that can speak, and he says, to who? You? Like, she's like, well, to anyone in general, like, I got, but yeah, to me, like, the way he said that was just rude. It was really definitely not right.
I don't know.
Okay, so you don't know if you have a poster or flyer, missing persons poster or flyer.
Correct. I will look into it.
Okay. Is there someone here? I'm sorry, what is your title?
Captain.
Okay. Is there someone here that would have any information about being contacted through email to give comment about those cases specifically?
Like to you, or?
Yeah, just someone reaching out asking for comment. The sheriff's office as a whole giving a comment about those cases and other cases, specifically including indigenous women and girls that have been missing.
I'd get with my detective.
Okay.
And see.
And who's that?
Ty.
Okay. Last name?
Cruikshank.
Okay.
All right.
I like that she kind of got sassed at the end. She was like, okay, and what's his name? And then he gave only the first name, just to get difficult. And she's like, yeah, last name? Like, I like that she finally was like, no, enough. You've been rude enough. You've been rude enough. Answer my questions. Quit playing this game. Jeez. And then she said, yep, well, thank you for your time. Be the bigger person. And yeah, that was disgraceful.
All right. See what because he's working those cases.
Okay.
So,
but he's not here?
No.
Okay.
Today he's not.
Okay. Well, thank you. I appreciate your time.
All right, you bet.
Do you think the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office is involved in a cover-up?
Well, I think there's several things that point to that. They didn't report finding Kaysara's body to the media. They absolutely 100% knew that was Kaysara. The officer had to recuse himself. He said he couldn't show the body, but why not look at the clothing? We really feel that there is information on her phone. He said not even the FBI can get into that phone. But the Department of Justice said if they had sent the phone to them, that they can get into it. That there isn't any phone or device that they can't get into or the FBI can't get into.
When that local government asks for federal help, the feds can come in and help with the investigation. That could be happening in Bighorn, and we're not seeing that at this point. And I'm not quite sure what the reason for that is. There's a lot of things that we can speculate to.
After numerous attempts and contacts, the Bighorn County Sheriff's Office declined to comment or participate in this feature.
It's coming to another.
We just want justice for our sister. She didn't deserve to die.
Just want justice for our sister. Justice for all of our sisters. Right? Is that not what they deserve? How is that not what they deserve? How is it that they get left to deal with this on their own? No. And it may be seem vulgar to their statement that the land is being raped, and the same thing that's happening to their land is happening to them. It's being stolen. They're being stolen. Right? It's the land is being raped. They're being raped. If I knew exactly where that timestamp was, I'd play it again, because actually it could be right in this area. Could be right around in this spot. Could be. Could also not be, but it could be.
At Standing Rock, descendants of some Lakota who fought here are today bearing the brunt of the Bakken shell boom. I cherish the land, said Crazy Horse. We are the land. The epicenter of the MMIWG tragedy, Bighorn County, is also surrounded by extractive industry. What is happening to the land is happening to us. We are being raped.
What is happening to the land is happening to us. We are being raped. Guys, it's true. It may seem harsh. It may seem vulgar. It may seem not good, right? It may not sound good on the ears. But this is the life that they're being forced to live. And they're being forced to deal with this on their own, as government throws their hands up, turns their heads and look the other way. Law enforcement throws their hands up, turns their head and looks the other way. Society throws their hands up, turns their head and looks the other way.
Killed, trafficked, strip mined. The theft of the sacred...
Yeah. Killed, trafficked.
Black Hills for gold mining brought the 7th Cavalry here. Custer died on this hill as a mortar to the military-industrial complex. We are dying every day as its victims. Highway 212 parallels the route Custer took.
It's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. How can anyone treat another human like that? Shame, shame, shame. Absolutely. Absolutely agree with you. I just went and screenshot that. And his hand, it's blank. It sure looks blank in my screenshot. Really? Does it really? No kidding. Oh my Lanta. Yeah, he sat there and looked like he was writing for a long time. And I'm like, how much does he possibly have to write right now? It is terrible, Nicole. It is. It really is terrible. It's so sad. I know. I know it. And that doesn't even talk about it. That brings up and reminds me of the residential schooling. And that I could get into a whole thing on residential schooling. And if you don't believe it, just ask Nicole. I got in on that on her a couple nights ago, actually. And the residential schooling that they were forced into and how it continued into the 1998, I believe, was the year. Close to that year, if not that year. And into the 1990s. We'll say it, we'll put it that way. And that being said, right, if and that's in Canada, that, and some even did happen here in America too. There were residential schools that were here as well. So if you lived in Canada or you lived in those areas and you're Native American, then you would have been shipped off to residential schooling. And would you have been one of the unlucky ones that lost their life and then got buried in an unmarked grave? Or would you have been one of the unlucky ones that survived and have been traumatized and now continue to live with that? And that's one more bit of trauma that the indigenous people live with. Right? I mean, which of the evils would you have gotten? Assimilation. Horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. It's really sad, you guys. It truly is. And I wish that more people would take it seriously and really pay attention. And honestly, it's really important to me. And it's sad that I have Native American in me. Now I'm a mutt. I'm a mixture of things. So I'm not heavy one thing or heavy another, or maybe I am heavy some things. I don't know. I'm not really sure. I haven't tested to see what all I have in me. Exactly. I know what I'm told that I have in me, and Native American was told to me. So that's something that I kind of held on to growing up, but take that out of it. And this is something that is just really important to me, that it gets talked about and that they get the attention that they need. All missing cases need attention, but these indigenous cases really, really need attention, and they're not receiving it. They're not receiving it. And so it's hard to get the information. That's another problem. It's hard to get the information. And so that's kind of something that I'm kind of trying to hurdle over with what I'm looking into, is the information part of it, and what can, who I could find that are missing that actually have it out there and posted, because they had already said, how about the ones that aren't documented, right? But I did see a whole bunch yesterday in the video that we played. There was a whole bunch of names on there that were missing and murdered indigenous people that have completely been forgotten, ignored, and there was a whole list of them on there. So I've got those names. Whether anything will come up, I don't even know. Makes you so mad and it's sad. Yes. People should be angry about it. because it's so unfair. And just imagine being in anybody's shoes that aren't your own. And I just can't imagine. I just can't imagine it. Yeah, Belle, hopefully you rewatch. I will be coming back on, I believe, here in just a little while. So I appreciate you guys coming and listening and taking the time to really, truly hear what they had to say. The video was made by Rain. It was, that was the woman that was talking, this one right here. Her name is Rain. And I think it was an awesome thing that she did, creating this. I put the, here, I'll do this. Here's what I'll do. What is this? The video. It's the video. Here. I'll drop it like this. And that way, you have, that's the video that's connected to the actual site. And then you can actually go through some of the stuff that they have on their site. And the actual site is this one. And that way you could go through it if you'd like to. And I recommend that. But I will be back in a little while here. So I'll see you guys, hopefully. Thank you so much for coming. I really appreciate it, honestly. I mean, I really, really, really do. It's really important that we listen to these stories, and especially 27 in San Antonio. And Texas is number 2. It's only second to California. So Texas has a massive issue. California has a massive issue. And Indigenous has a massive issue. So we'll be looking into all those cases. And I'll be back in a little while. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, mods. See you all shortly. Take care, guys. Bye.